Welcome back, America. You know, Alex Marlow is one of the great, really, podcasters. But more than that, he runs this fantastic site, Breitbart. And it's one of my favorite sites. I bookmark it. He's got great people there, like Joel Pollack, among others. And he is a great writer. And he's got a great book out called Breaking the Law, Exposing the Weaponization of America's Legal System Against Donald Trump. You know, Alex, I can't think of a better time for this book, given what we learn about Obama and Hillary, and given what we see going on with Bolton that needs to be done, and so forth and so on. Explain to the nation why you decided to write this book and how you've broken it down.
Mark, first of all, thank you. It is always such a pleasure to be in your show. You are such a leader in this movement. I was reading On Power this afternoon. It's fantastic as always. Congrats on another #1, and we need you right now. So thank you for being here for all of us in your audience who have been in your audience for so many decades now at this point.
Now, hold on. See what I mean, folks? See how nice he is? He doesn't have to say all that, but he is. He's a sweetheart. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean it. It's genuine. I wouldn't say it if it wasn't true, because I know you would tell if I was BSing you, Mark.
Right. No.
I wrote this book because I was going through the process of trying to understand the cases against President Trump. And I'd talked about doing something like this with my agent and my editor. We shared the same editor at Threshold, Simon & Schuster. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to do something like this, and I thought it needed to be done. And then when I saw the convicted felon branding take off, and Trump got convicted for nothing, and it was a trial that never should have happened, and it only occurred, now we know, because of the Russia collusion hoax. He never would have been busted, aside from the fact that they got access to Michael Cohen's Gmail account through the fake, absurd Russia hoax. And it was the fact that we weren't holding people accountable for the lawfare of yesteryear was the reason why the lawfare perpetuated, and they were on the verge of rigging the 2024 election, depriving us, we the people, the citizens, of the right to vote to choose our own president by jailing him or trying to just beat him into submission during the election. And there were so many cases going on at once, even I could barely keep them straight, and I'm the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News because there were 6 happening at the same time. I thought, they're asking this guy to win 6 cases and win a presidential campaign from the courthouse. And now someone's got to tell this story, and I dig into it, and I learn, of course, all 6 of the major cases have ties to Joe Biden's White House, all patently illegal, blatant violations of due process rights, 5th Amendment, 6th Amendment. We learn 8th Amendment violations from Tish James. Same goes for that E. Jean Carroll, the woman case, where there was a $90 million penalty when Carroll only asked for $15 million, another completely absurd case. And they're throwing everything at this guy, and no one is standing up for him. And I said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to lay it out for the people. I'm going to stand up for this president, and hopefully this will be the catalyst to get some justice. So then I'm writing the bookmark. And all of a sudden he wins, which is terrific. So I'm, 3/4 of the way through. And the lawfare apparatus doesn't slow down. It speeds up. Now they're doing the injunctions. They're doing the TROs. They're demanding Bukele send back El Salvadorian national illegal aliens back to America. These people have lost their minds. And so I need to dig into who's funding it, how big the superstructure is, and hopefully give we the people some ideas of what we can do to fight back.
Now, this is what's key. This is what drew my attention. The book is fantastic. The book is absolutely... I encourage you folks to go to Amazon.com or your local bookstore over the weekend. Breaking the Law by our friend Alex Marlow, the head muckety-muck over there at Breitbart. The donors and the activists, you really dig into this. So there's George Soros, right? Who else? Just off the top of your head.
Thank you. So first of all, Soros is really important to talk about because we actually underestimate him. It's one of these things where we know these things are happening and they're bad. But one man single-handedly ruined all of American cities by buying these DA races. And I think it's like 80 million Americans live in a city with a Soros-funded DA who probably wouldn't be in there unless for Soros' money. And he buys these seats. And they sow law and order in our streets. He's an agent of chaos. He doesn't want law and order. He hates law and order. And so he buys these DA races, and then we're powerless to watch our cities deteriorate, aside from, of course, Washington, D.C., and Trump's absolutely right to crack down the way he's doing. I hope he comes to my neck of the woods in L.A. next. But there are other names that are really important here. Reid Hoffman. Reid Hoffman might be familiar to some people in your audience, a billionaire who got his money from LinkedIn and other Silicon Valley stuff. He funded the E. Jean Carroll case, which was an absurd case from decades ago, and this woman selling a book, she comes out as George Conway's idea to go after Trump, And she, a columnist, gets access to the best attorneys in the world. How does she get them? She gets them from Reid Hoffman. How about the Sandler Foundation? This is one that might be new to your audience. Herb Sandler was a guy who was a banker, made a lot of money in banking, and he was the original guy to use the guise of philanthropy to do left-wing activism. Of course, George Soros, Laurene Powell Jobs, Reid Hoffman, names that might be familiar to your audience, they followed in his footsteps. He was the one who created this concept, and he worked with Soros and Jobs and others. But every time you read a hit piece on Clarence Thomas or Samuel Alito trying to make their lives miserable because they dare to be originalists in this moment, it's funded by the Sandler Foundation. And they're going to keep doing it. They're undeterred. These people are vicious. And they are part of the Lawfare superstructure. They also fund other elements that amplify their hit pieces, their investigations, trying to harass conservatives and originalists. Last one I'll give you, David Brock. David Brock, again, might be a name you may have heard of because he founded Media Matters. He's a donor magnate. If David Brock wanted a dog adoption, Mark, to counter all the good work you're doing for dogs in your community. And he wanted to counter you with a dog adoption. The left-wing donor, every left-wing donor would give money. He's one of those guys. You know what he's doing now? Something called Project 65, which is what he's trying to do is to get people who represent people like Donald Trump and his supporters disbarred so they can't play their craft, they can't work. We're not talking about no white shoe law firm jobs. We're talking no jobs at all. And that's what these guys are doing, and he's funded by everyone. So this is what I'm saying. This is the threat to MAGA at this moment. It's Lawfare.
I didn't know it was Brooks that was behind that Project 65, which tries to disbar any lawyer who dares to represent anyone related to Trump or a conservative or a Republican. So they even went after Alan Dershowitz, as I recall. They went after everybody.
They went after everyone, and they got a big scalp with John Eastman, who's just trying to give Trump the best counsel he can. He can't work. He's currently, his law license is suspended. I mean, that's a very high-profile victory for them. And no one pinned it to Brock, which is bizarre to me, but I'm here to do it. No,
that's terrible. He's a good man. By the way, what do you make of this site Mediaite? I think it's a crass, stupid site. They like a copy from Media Matters, and it's run by this guy, Dan Abrams, who pretends he's some kind of newsy guy, but he's like the Jerry Springer of cable TV. Do you know much about these people?
I'm so glad you bring it up, and I hope they're listening. These are the dumbest
Oh, trust me, they are.
Internet. It is the dumbest internet site with the worst writing, the worst ideas for stories. But for some reason, they've convinced some people in some newsrooms that they care about what they write. But everyone I've talked to over there is a stone-cold moron.
That's what I say. If you have a low
I don't say
IQ,
that lightly. People know I'm not one to name call. But they're just dumb.
Yeah, they are dumb, and their headlines are crazy. And by the way, the Breitbart has like the greatest website. The way you guys do the headlines, and you get the news up there very, very fast. I want to delve more into your book after the break, and I want to delve into how you guys at Breitbart do this every day. It's amazing. We're talking to the great Alex Marlow, his great new book, Breaking the Law, Exposing the Weaponization of America's Legal System Against Donald Trump. It is thorough, it is readable, and your eyes are going to pop out of your head like Nancy Pelosi. What would you say are the top 2 or 3, if you could even categorize it that way, of lawful, illegal, really, efforts at lawfare against Donald Trump?
So I think the big one, you got to take it overarching. What happened with the Joe Biden Department of Justice and the Joe Biden White House, I think was clearly illegal because you know the Constitution better than anyone I know. Mark, are you allowed to pursue a political persecution to try to take out the standard bearer of the opposite political party in this country? We've certainly never seen it, but it's very clear that this happened. It's every single case. It's all 6 of the cases that I document. You could start with this Stormy Daniels case, which is the most egregious because that was the one that turned into the completely phony criminal conviction of Trump, where Joe Biden's DOJ sent a ringer, this guy Matthew Colangelo, who's a number 3 at the DOJ. He was on pace to be an FBI director or Supreme Court justice. They sent him to Alvin Bragg's office in Manhattan to try to take out Trump. What else was he doing there other than to try to win a political election? How about the Fani Willis case, the Georgia RICO case? She hires her boyfriend, Nathan Wade, and they bag a bunch of cash, go on a bunch of vacations with it. But Nathan Wade was a family lawyer. He was doing divorces and prenups. All of a sudden, he's on the case, and what is he doing? He's going to the White House for 8 hours at a time. so that he could have these meetings with people. What was he doing in these meetings? We don't know exactly, Mark, but we also do know. We know exactly what he was doing because there's no other reason for a family lawyer who's a nobody to go to the White House other than to talk about the Trump cases. The two Jack Smith cases, unconstitutional appointment by Merrick Garland, who I believe was put up to it by Vanita Gupta and Lisa Monaco, who were really the two bad guys in the DOJ. But he does it. He makes the call, puts Jack Smith in there. It's not a real job. It's a fake job, and he operates with impunity, leaking to the Washington Post the whole time for 18 months, and then we learned finally it was illegal. I mentioned the Eugene Carroll case where Reid Hoffman, who is funding the case, kept going to the White House over and over. And don't get me started on Tish James, who's the number one offender of them all. So all of this was so offensive, and it gets more offensive the more you read it. I recommend probably a dozen investigations in the book, Mark, because they really are necessary. But number 1 and 2 are Tish James and Jack Smith, and they're under investigation already, and that is great news.
That is great news. And again, the book is Breaking the Law. Amazon.com, any major bookstore, exposing the weaponization of America's legal system against Donald Trump. This book is prescient, and it's right on target, and this is the time for this book. So, Alex Marlow, how do you run such a great website? I mean, I don't know how many people you have. I don't want to get into proprietary stuff, but you guys seem to be on top of everything. You get the news out there fast. You get the opinions out there fast. That's not easy to do.
It's so kind of you to say that. It means the world to me. But I'll tell you, one of the objectives I have every day is I want people like you. I want the biggest talk shows in the world. And I got this because Andrew Breitbart, I watched him. I was the first employee of the company 17 years ago. And I was in Andrew Breitbart's basement, and he was writing the Drudge Report back when Drudge Report was a conservative website. And when he would come up with a story, he would pass it to Rush Limbaugh or Sean Hannity or some of the biggest names in talk radio. And they would just go live to air with it. And he would show me, watch this. He'd say to me, we'd be listening on his Bose Wave radio and in his basement. And he'd send them a story, and they'd go straight to the air with it. And I was thinking the real power in that is that he was so trusted that he knew that if he could send those guys a story, they could take it to air, and they could put their name on the line with Andrew's stuff. And that's what I want to be for you, Mark. Like, that's what I want. When you read something at Breitbart, I want you to know you don't need to vet it. You don't need to find 3 other sources. Once you see this is a Breitbart article, I can take this to my audience on the air right now and not think twice about it. That's really the goal. And if I'm furthering that goal, then we're having a good day. And if we're going backwards in that regard, we're having a bad day. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we reference it all the time here, don't we, Mr. Producer? We love the Breitbart website. It is absolutely reliable. I even think your enemies on the hard left, I think they realize that Breitbart is reliable and Breitbart is a problem for them, because you're breaking through what they're trying to, all the static they're trying to create, don't you think?
Yeah, part of it's because we have fun. It's the front page. I always want a huge economy of words. I tell my guys on the front page, which is really my baby, that if you could say something in 5 words, say it in 5 words. It's a don't waste people's time. Be fun. Be efficient. Call out the bad guys. Be fearless. You're only taking flack if you're over the target. So if people are taking shots at us, that's always a good sign. So we're hardened warriors, but we're also having a blast while we're doing it. So hopefully it becomes an addiction for people.
Mm-hmm. All right, folks, it's the perfect evening. You got a great weekend to grab this book. I know you're going to love it. If you're grabbing my book, grab his too. You get a good discount out there. It's Breaking the Law, Exposing the Weaponization of America's Legal System Against Donald Trump. Alex, it's been a delight, my friend, and keep up the great work. We really appreciate you.
Mark, it'd be an honor to host you on the Alex Marlow Show whenever you'd like, so let me know we can make that happen.
All right, brother. You have a great weekend, too. God bless. That guy's a class act. He's a nice man. My wife and I bumped into him, and forget where. I think it was at the airport, and what a nice person. No, no affectation, none of that stuff. Just a good guy, and he works hard, and he's got a great team over there. And we very much appreciate him.